Well, it says live, but it will probably take a few minutes. So hello if you are watching the replay. And Kerry, sad that you can't join us, but hopefully the meeting goes well.
That's what the replays are for.
Yeah. I'm living off replays at the moment because I miss everything. And then I come home and I'm like, oh, I've got like 20 things to watch.
I'm so behind on YouTube. I feel really bad. I'm not watching like anyone's stuff because I'm like weeks behind.
Yeah. I just open them in tabs, and as I'm I'll eat dinner and just watch things as I go, and I'll just work my way through them. And the worst thing is, I can't remember if I've told you this. So for some bizarre reason, I have now just gotten myself hooked on watching NHL replays, just the really short clips. And so I've just got these hockey clips lined up in between BookTube videos. I'm like, what is even my life? I don't actually care about any sport, but I'm watching this.
Hilarious.
I tell myself it's because I need to try and understand what I'm reading. And I was like, okay, that's fine. That's
I feel like hockey romances are in right now. Someone else was posting about how they were watching hockey and they're like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
All those hockey romances.
Pretty much. They're just piling up on my Kindle Unlimited list, and I just need to read them. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. It's not like me.
Very different.
All right. So I suppose would you like to introduce yourself, Robin? Because I know you've been on my channel before, but for anyone.
I'm Robin. I'm Paperbacks and Planners here on YouTube as well as over on Instagram. I've been here a lot, so.
And actually, no, that's what I haven't done today is I haven't set the dates for our journaling live. So
yeah, we need to do that too.
That's my next job after this. Yes, and I'm Steph. This is my channel. I feel like I've done nothing but talk about this series for the last 12 to 18 months. So, and I was going to say, when did you start reading the Necessary Evil series?
It was late because I'm trying to like look at the series. Book 4 had just come out when I started it.
Yeah, I think it was probably close.
So it wasn't like super late because I did have to wait for books 5, 6, and 7 to release. Yeah. But yeah, I at book 4, I think is when I was like, all right, I think I need to get on this.
Yeah. Hi, Heather. Thank you for kind of being here.
Kind of being here. We'll try to not spoil too much.
I don't think we'll spoil too much. And I feel like we've kind of we convinced Heather to start reading the series. So
she has to.
Yeah.
I actually was trying to convince someone today because they commented and they're like, I read book 1. Do I need to read the rest of the series? And I was like, well, yeah. Of course.
But, you know, it's interesting because like you, I think I came in around the same time as book 4.
Yeah.
Okay, Heather, that's fine. And because I remember I read a whole stack of them, like a few of them back to back, and then was waiting. And I feel like it wasn't until book 4 or book 5 that I'm like, no, I need the next book right this second. Can you please give it to me? Because I think even now I love book 1, but it's not my favorite in the series.
Me neither.
I think that
book 3 is my favorite.
You know what? Because I was going to say Lunatic is my favorite, but I think it's Moonstruck and Lunatic are my two favorites.
Lunatic and Moonstruck are my favorite. They're so good.
Yeah. I think I just like the character dynamics in those two books. They're a little bit different to the other ones. But yeah, because everyone loves.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say everyone loves August's book, and I do too. But like the more that I read Moonstruck, the higher up on my list it goes.
I know. There's something about like the soft serial killer that it gets me. Just like that, like juxtaposition. He's just like such a little cinnamon roll. He just wants to be taken care of. Yeah. But he also murders people.
But he doesn't like it.
He doesn't like it. He just sits there eating a granola bar while his husband kills.
So I'm actually in the middle of listening to the audiobook of that. It's my new audiobook while I do my diamond painting. So I'm like,
I love that. I almost reread the whole series before this, but then I was like, I can't. I have too many books on my TBR. Committed already.
I remember telling you because I started my reread because but I started it late because I was convinced the book was going to get pushed back again. I'm like, there's no way it's coming out this week, so I'll do this now, and maybe it gets pushed back a week, and then it dropped, and I'm like, I would think I was in the middle of book 3, and I'm like, oh, now I just have to keep reading. But that was good because I actually read because Robin and I both get the early release in Onley James's Patreon, but I actually ended up reading the one that was published live because I'd pre-ordered it anyway.
Yeah.
So it worked out in the end. But I can't read it the day it came out.
It dropped at like 6 p.m. my time, and I was like, I'm gonna read it right now, and I ended up staying up late to read it. So I was like, well, I can't wait till the morning.
If I hadn't been in the middle of the series, I would have dropped everything and read it. But I'm like, no, I've committed myself. I've got to see this through.
Yeah. Especially that far in. At least if you had been on book 1, it would have been like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't have bothered, but I was almost halfway through. It did give me a chance because it was the first time I'd reread Lunatic since the release. So I mean, I got to put all my tabs in the book and everything. So now I've read it and they're all annotated, which is nice. And then I can go, I'm not going to say stalk Onley James at Rare, but I'm definitely going to be going to say hello.
Please do. I'm so jealous. I need some book plate convention things to come semi-closer. Because they're all like on the coast or down south, and I'm like, that's like an 8-hour flight. That's exaggerating. It's 4 hours, but still.
I'll see if I can get some stickers and get her to sign them for you.
I have some because she does them for her Patreon.
That's right, she does too.
Yeah, so I have like some signed stickers and stuff from her and some signed book plates. Yeah. And I think my copy of Headcase or Mad Men is signed, one of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had pre-ordered it from her website, and she'll do signed ones on there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so we were very excited for Maniac because I feel like we've been waiting for this book for so long. So what were your initial thoughts on it?
So I actually rewatched my review that hasn't been posted yet because I haven't edited it, but I actually watched it back because I was like, I need to refresh my thoughts of this book. But I talked a lot in there about how, like, because the reader learns Thomas's history before like everyone else in the family does. And then like he goes back to the family and it totally threw me off because they get so mad at him. And I was like, but we just learned his back history. And I actually had to like remind myself that like none of them knew because we get to learn about it at the beginning of the book. And then they don't learn about it until significantly later. So I got so mad at the Mulvaney brothers for like yelling at Thomas. Because I was like, poor Thomas. He's just so sad.
Yeah. I know. And it was one of those things. So I should say in the Patreon, Onley James was releasing the chapters as she was writing them. Yeah. And I didn't there were times when I would sort of glance through them, but I didn't actually read them.
Yeah, I avoided that.
Like I'd read a paragraph in one and then I'm like, no, that's fine. I'll read it when it comes out. Because I don't like reading serialized like that. It does my head in. But there were like things that I'd pick up and I'm like, oh, okay. So when I was reading it, just seeing where they actually fit into the storyline and the beats that it hit. And I kind of liked that for the first part, it was very much them, like Aiden and
Justice.
They were just sorting out what it was, the complicated history of them. Even Aiden's backstory and exactly how because we'd kind of gotten hints that something wasn't quite right with how he'd come into the family. Yeah. And particularly in Lunatic when we learned who his dad was and all of that.
And I really liked how she ended up working out the whole like how they started to be a thing in the first place, because she really made it so it wasn't, because like when you say it out loud, it sounds like it would be creepy. But like as you follow it through, it's like, okay, it's not like this was his son. Like that's not what this was at all.
I was trying to remember, I know I wrote down the age gap. I just forgot to grab my book that had it in it because it was like 14 years or something.
14. Yeah, I talked about it in my review. I just refreshed. So 14 years.
But you kind of understand it because you know, Aiden didn't really have anyone that he looked up to and respected at the time.
Yeah, and then he leaves for a while,
Yeah.
you know? So it's one of those, like, he goes away at 18, comes back 4 years later or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
you're a
they're
whole
all
new
adults.
person.
And,
Yeah.
So, because I
And, like,
was,
the adoption was never, like, with the other kids, like, the adoptions were like, "You're a child, and I'm here to take care of you." With
yeah,
Aiden, it was just like, "You need a place to go. Like, I guess you can live here."
yeah.
So,
And I was grateful for that, because I was like, this could be done in a way that really
yeah,
throws you out of the story.
really creepy.
And
Yeah, exactly.
even sort of the defining moment where they, you know, they have their first moment where they acknowledge anything between them, and then it
Yeah,
throws them, and then they go their separate way. Like, you kind of go, yeah, that explains everything.
that makes a lot of sense, yeah. And, like we were saying, like, it's years later, and then, like, it's kind of like this ongoing cycle after years, and so it really doesn't feel, like, creepy anymore
Yeah,
because by the time that anything really starts to happen, it's like, okay, they're in their, you know, late
yeah,
20s, late 30s, early 40s.
yeah.
So,
And it's, I think like, it's nice that we're seeing more romance books now with characters who are in their 40s and 50s and
yes.
whatnot as well. And I
Yeah.
think that's probably why I liked this book and Lunatic and
Same.
Moonstruck, because they're
Yeah.
all older and they're all trying to
Mhm.
figure out what is going on
Stuff.
in their life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so relatable as someone in their 30s going,
Same.
what even is this? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I really appreciated that in this
Yeah,
one.
I do too. I know, like, I had read through some of the Patreon things, and people were like, "No, no, they're not that old." And Onley James is like, "Nope, they are. That's how old they are." Like,
Yeah. It's like,
I was like, "No, I like that."
yeah, I think it's easy to just imagine someone is a particular age, but that was the one thing that I kept in my head, because the whole, like, even there was always the conversation that Aiden wasn't that much younger than Atticus,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Even though he was adopted, like, yeah,
yeah, even though he was adopted earlier and
yeah,
whatnot, and that whole idea of all of the characters though is figuring out where they fit in age timeline, because they don't
yeah,
necessarily put themselves in age order; they put themselves
yep,
in adoption order, and I'm like,
yep,
yeah, so it was
yeah.
good. I enjoyed
I
that.
had to, like, go to her Patreon. At some point, she did share a timeline of,
Oh yeah.
like, their ages and when they were adopted, and I pretty sure that in every single book, I've had to go back and reference that because I'm just
I'll
like,
have
"Where are they?"
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that. I'll have to go back and find it. Yeah, 'cause that probably would have been helpful. Like, most of the time I don't care, but it was just like trying to place where everyone was the further we got
Yeah,
into the series. Because the other thing that I really liked when Thomas was sort of revealing his history was that idea of, vic I don't like the
victimhood.
idea of it, but I liked the way that it was explored, the idea of a
Yeah,
victim blaming themselves, because I think
yes,
we've particularly someone who is so well versed in understanding the experiences of other people, because
yeah,
in book one, Thomas was very quick to point out that it wasn't Noah's fault. He was a victim
yeah,
of something. But being the person who is involved, you can't see that, and you internalize
yeah,
it differently. And in a lot of ways, it almost felt like Aiden was the adult in the relationship. He
yes,
was the older one, able to see it.
yeah,
And I liked that flip dynamic, because all the way through, Thomas has sort of been the adult, the grown up, the person who's in charge. And in
yeah,
this case, he wasn't able to see past his
yeah,
past.
especially when they're, like, together in that beginning
Mm,
portion, and Aiden really had to be the one to, like, guide him
no.
through all of that. So, yeah, like, the roles were kind of reversed, which was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I did like that a
And
lot.
yeah. And even just exploring like Aiden and his tendencies, because the whole way through, everyone's just assumed he is a psychopath, and we've sort of,
Yeah,
I think, from book 5 onwards, figured out that's
kinda
not,
new, yeah,
kind of not. Um, and yeah, it was interesting, because I think it flips that idea of empathy on its
yeah.
head,
Yeah, I thought that was
particularly
really
because
interesting. The idea,
yeah,
because you think of empathy as being this, like, really good thing, and
yeah,
then to have this idea of dark empathy of being like, no,
Yeah.
this is why I can kill people. I do have feelings.
Yeah, I have feelings, and it's because I'm really annoyed by what this person has done, and I'm going to prove to them exactly what they've done.
I need you to know how bad this was. But yeah, I liked when they play with age gaps and then make like the younger one have a kind of like some sort of, they play with that power dynamic to turn it on his head and give them some sort of control. And I liked how she did that with Aiden.
Yeah. It's kind of actually, in that regard, it's almost like For Real by Alexis Hall.
I was going to say, yep. Where you have the Dom that's younger.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it was good. And I like that we got to sit, like, the whole idea of all of these characters coming back into the story. Because, I mean, there was a cast of thousands by the end of the book. And I'm like, okay, I've got to keep track of where everyone is. But
when they're in the war room and people are sitting on the table and on the floors and in the corners, it's like they're all just a giant big happy family.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, they're one happy family, and these are the kids, but no, they're actually all grown adults, but they're the kids of the family. So, because I liked how Jericho's group has been incorporated in and a considered family.
Yeah,
because that's the other serial I'm not reading at the moment is.
I'm avoiding it at all costs.
Yeah.
But I have caught like little glimpses. Like you said, it's so hard to like not like catch as you're like scrolling through. But I am very excited for the spinoff. And they're also she's doing a second spinoff. Did you hear about that with Atticus's school? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're getting like the school one as well. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the school one, actually.
I am too.
I think that'd be really cool.
Plus, if we get more Atticus.
Yeah.
I'm in.
It'll be nice. Yeah, because I'd read the Elite Protection series.
Mm-hmm.
I think I actually read that before I read most of the books in Necessary Evils. So, like,
technically, they're all connected.
Yeah.
So the doctor that Thomas works with is in that one.
Yes.
Which I didn't know because I read them out of order.
now it's like, now I need a diagram. Yeah. Molly is connected and Calliope is connected to both. And I'd forgotten how connected Calliope was to Elite Protection until.
Yeah, I did too. Until like it kind of like all came back together. I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's how it all fits together. All puzzle pieces.
How she keeps it all straight is beyond me.
She's got to have great notes. Yeah. I need the breakdown of the family tree. That's what I need.
Seriously.
Where everyone connects.
Yeah.
I have to say my favorite addition to the story was Lola, and I would really like a Lola book.
I do too. Yeah, I love the Calliope and Lola. We definitely need that Lola and her spinoff for sure.
Yeah. I just need
story.
Yeah, her love story with Calliope. I need her and some kind of weird investigative thing with Aiden.
It'd be so good.
Like, how did you meet, and how did this relationship work? Like, I want to see that.
Same. Because but you don't know how any of it worked out. Like you don't know any details.
No, it's like it works perfectly in the story, but I want more. I want more of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I did like there was the one comment in the book, we need more women in this group because there's only 3 of them. Like, yes, you do. I
love that everyone, like all of them are scared of Calliope. Like that makes me laugh every single time that they're all so scared of her.
Yep. That's because she's a boss.
Yeah.
She's the real brains of the operation.
For sure.
Let's be real.
She keeps everyone running.
But I don't like, even though I'd read Damaged, which I swear I'd read it earlier, but I clearly had not. Like, I keep forgetting how young she is in the story.
Yeah. Especially since, like you said, you get to see her in the earlier series. And so in my head, she's existed for forever.
yeah, like she's the same age as Thomas. It's fine. Like that's where we exist. No. Yeah, and I just liked all of their reactions to meeting her, and I'm like,
oh my God, that scene was so funny.
They've
Like,
just
what?
built her up in their minds, and I'm like, yeah, that's totally what we would do.
I love it. And then her son gets like all protective of her.
But also he's just like, yeah, she gets that reaction a lot because she's hot.
That's my mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all so
Oh my
cute. I
God.
love them.
Yeah.
I liked that this one was like far more angsty than the rest of the series, which I really liked because we didn't really get that type. Like I feel like a lot of them were less angsty than this one, and this one we got some good Onley James angst from the two of them.
Yeah, I think there's like I describe it as my little cozy murderous romantic suspense series for the most part.
Yeah.
But I don't think it could have. I think if it had been like that with this book, it would have felt flippant rather than
exactly.
like we actually got a resolution that we wanted.
Yeah.
Because you like when you build up a relationship over the course of 6 books, you kind of have to. There has to be a reason why they haven't gotten together before. Like this is like the entire series has basically been their slow burn, and you got to work out why it hasn't happened earlier. So I appreciated that, and that they had to work for it.
They did. And I liked how much like Aiden pushed Thomas and like tested him and was just like forcing him through that whole process.
No, you don't get away with this now. It's like, here's a button. I'm going to push it until you do. So you get some kind of response.
Yeah. He's like, I want to stop. No, keep up.
No, you keep going. You can have a break, but then we're coming back and we're doing it again. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think what else I was going to say. Because it was really interesting finding out about Thomas's family. Because you don't really get much. Like you sort of get the generic, and this is because Thomas never told his sons what happened with the family. So the whole way through, we get their perspective on the family. Oh yes, the Mulvaneys had money. They were philanthropists. Blah blah blah. And then you find out the truth, and you're like, okay, great. Toxic family relationships 101.
Oh man, that was a toxic one too. Like I had like theories, but like all of my theories were very wrong.
Well, I don't know what it took. Like to be honest, I hadn't had any idea of what would be so traumatic in Thomas's background because aside from the day drinking, which I think we all attributed to the relationship with Aiden, but may have also just revealed an underlying cause, but we didn't know about it. So like I had no idea what to expect. And
I figured they were like a toxic family, but I would have never expected like the other part of him at school and the cousin thing. Like I did not see any of that coming.
No. And that was really disturbing. And but also
it was really smart of her to have the whole thing from Aiden's point or from Thomas's point of view as well, because like you said, you really got to see how he saw the experience, and then to have someone else be like, you're putting blame on yourself when you were the victim here. So I think that was like a really interesting and smart choice by Onley James to have like the whole thing revealed through the victim and then be told, no, you're not you're not to blame here.
Yeah. And actually, like when Thomas tells the story to everyone in the conference room, having Aiden go, actually, no, you need to stop telling it that way because that's not correct. That's not the right way to tell the story. I think that was useful as well because quite often you don't have someone that, like when you have to reveal something like that, like Thomas didn't have anyone to say when he told Thomas, or when he told Aiden that, to say, no, that's wrong. So to have that when he has to retell the story, that's obviously quite traumatic. And I was going to say like the whole plot line with the cousin and the fact that Thomas was so young, like we knew that Thomas was smart and that he'd obviously gone through college early and whatnot, but just how young he was and how everyone took advantage of that. Like you want to say that doesn't happen, but it does, and you just go, it's horrific.
And like that making him like work for everything, like that he couldn't be a kid, that all of their like affection was it's some sort of reward for how he acted. Made like broke my heart.
I know, and it's one of those weird things where you go, okay, people with privilege and with money and with power quite often have it really easy, but it doesn't mean that everyone does. You never know what goes on behind closed doors. And the being basically treated as a prop for the family.
And it really like kind of highlighted like why he acted the way he did throughout the whole series, like bringing in all of these kids, and then how he like became so attached to Noah and all of that. So like it really highlighted like why he was the way that he was throughout the whole book, while still being so cold to Aiden. Like it just all kind of clicked into place. It made sense.
I know it was very well done in that regard, because we only ever got hints, and you want to have the whole story.
And I think because I don't know if you've read like her author notes and stuff, because she has a background in psychiatry and psychology, and I think the way that she discusses all of those mental health things is just, it's really well done, because she has so much insight into how victims actually talk about these situations, and all of those interesting insights.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I always try and read, like these days I always try and read the author's notes, just because I think, particularly if there's something like there's so many ways that this entire series could be misconstrued and taken the wrong way by people. And I think until you have the context of, okay, well, there is an understanding of this, and also I think the way that she has written about the various things that happen in this series, because there's so many horrific, tragic things that happen, both to the main characters and to just the side characters. Like there's a lot of care given to show that there are people who care as well, which sometimes it can just be trauma for trauma's sake, and I don't think it was trauma for trauma's sake.
No, I think it's in her books, like she has a little blurb at the beginning where she says like the bad guys get what they deserve. And I love every single time I see it, it makes me smile, because I'm just like, sometimes we just need that. I need the bad guys to get what they deserve.
And it reminds me a little bit of Cole McCade's series as well.
Exactly.
Just that we know that bad things happen, and we know that bad people deserve the things that happen in this book.
Sometimes I need that escapism to know sometimes good people come out on top,
That's nice to have that thought. So so I appreciate that. But I had no idea where sort of the story was going to go and who the person behind it was going to be.
I had no idea. I'm really bad though about like guessing anything, because I get so wrapped up in the characters and stuff that I don't ever take the time to like try and pick out the pieces and solve the puzzle. I'm just like so invested in their love story.
And look, usually, to be honest, I'm the same. Every now and then I'll have a theory, and it just comes up because of something that's come up in the book. I'm like, oh, okay, I think this is what it's going to be, and then I just keep reading, and I'm like, if it is, it is. If it's not, I don't really care. Because at the end of the day, like it's a book. If I'm really, really stressed about where something's going, then I might try and sort it out. But these books don't stress me out. Just like,
no.
Just give me my snarky, bantery characters. I lived for the scene.
Go ahead. I was just plus the bad guy dies at the end. So
exactly. I was just going to say, like, I lived for the scene where I knew Thomas and Aiden were going to be in the room with all of the brothers, and at least one of them was going to say something entirely inappropriate about their relationship and get punched for it. I'm like, that's how they work. Like, I knew exactly what to expect.
Yeah.
And that they would call each other on it. And I'm like, I love this little family of very disturbing individuals.
They are all very disturbing in their own ways. And the Found family, just as disturbing. They really just collected a bunch of them.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, we found the psychic ex-FBI agent and the mechanic who likes vigilante justice and has an entire team of young adults helping him. And
I love the random Lucas paranormal addition. It's just so out of left field.
Let's just add that element in there. Totally fine. We'll go with it. Like in Mac and Archer's, little school of serial killers. Like, okay, we'll just take it. Add it to the mix.
I think it helps. Like, as much as she kind of touches on some heavier things, the series and the books don't take themselves too seriously. No. And so I can just like roll with all the craziness. Like, it doesn't even faze me. Whereas if it tried too hard to like be like really serious, I couldn't roll with those same crazy punches.
And like there are some genuinely funny things that happen in the series, and the brothers' relationships with each other and the way that they just constantly dig at one another, and they know how to say the thing to get a reaction.
Yes. I laughed out loud when at like the end of Moonstruck when Atticus is sitting there eating the granola bar, like while Jericho is just cutting a person up. Like I was like, this is
and Jericho's just like, it's okay, I've got your granola bars in the bag. You just sit there.
Like, cool.
Okay. But even is it in Maniac where, so for those of you who haven't read the series, August always wears headphones and listens to a variety of pop divas and whatnot on his murder list. But like just him offering to give headphones to, it was Zane?
Yeah, I think it was Zane.
Yeah, it was Zane in this book, because Zane wanted to be part of it, but he didn't want to be part of it. And it's like,
he's like, I don't want to hear the screams.
I don't want to hear any of it. Like, okay, they've all grown as individuals, kind of.
Yeah, I love it. And then what's the other one the other love interest that lives with Zane?
Oh, Felix.
And then Felix being like the total opposite and like trying to like cut the guy up with this tiny little sharp blade. Like,
it's so strange to say it, but those two books, Avi and Aza's books, almost feel like the most normal of the entire series, and they're not by any stretch, but they kind of feel like in the middle of it.
Especially when you take into consideration that Zane likes pain play.
It's like, okay.
Somehow the most normal.
Yeah. Avi is definitely the puppy dog of the bunch. But
yeah, for sure.
The murderous golden retriever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I love it. And now we're gonna get Arson's book.
Yes.
Which I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
Which sounds like it's gonna be another like alpha puppy dog sort of deal. Because I think Arson's also supposed to be kind of golden retriever-esque. Just Russian.
Yeah. Bring it on.
Yep. I love it.
Like, my wish would be somewhere down the track that we get August and Lucas's girls' books. I'm so intrigued.
Yes.
About those.
I would love a second generation of Mulvaney's. That would be fantastic.
Like Paladin is sort of next generation, but not quite. But I would really love the girls.
Did you read there? She did release a short story that is Atticus and Jericho, that it takes place right like as Paladin is starting.
Yes, I did read that.
Yeah, and they were like, just let the kids take over. And I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Guys, I'm really sorry I haven't shared comments because they literally just popped up on my screen, so I don't know what's going on.
Jericho's group.
Yeah.
Band of Misfits.
It is. It's very well balanced. Don't go sleep. It's okay. Sleep is important. Yeah, I talk about it all the time, so you'll probably hear me talk about it again at some point.
I know.
So it's like ultimate comfort read.
Seriously, I don't, and it's funny because when I say it out loud,
It's
like
so
every now and
weird.
then I'll explain my books to my husband, and he'll be like, "You hear yourself, right?" Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's funny because I have friends who read, and some of them who read romance, but they all read fluffy contemporary romance. And I'm like, I can't tell you about half the things that I read because you'll look at me and go, "What the hell is wrong with you?"
Hear me out. Serial killers, but make them funny.
Yeah, don't knock it until you try it. But yes, it is serial killers, but make it funny. Like it's in a lot of ways, I guess it's just processing a different way that someone views the world.
Yeah.
And like you don't often get the chance to do that in a way that's not threatening, because quite often like if I'm reading a serial killer book, it's probably not even a romance.
Yeah.
And it's probably something that's quite dark, and it's probably a thriller or something.
Yeah.
And you don't really get time to sort of unpack it. And I also think that it normalizes the fact that just because you might have a diagnosis as a psychopath doesn't mean that you can't actually function, and you can't.
Yeah. Especially like when you look at like Moonstruck, where Atticus is like, I don't want to kill anyone. I really just want to do my job.
Yeah, I want to be in control, and I want to sort of be at the top of my field, and I want like that drive to be successful.
Yeah, I just want to sit in my office and do my science and leave me alone.
Yeah. Like a lot of the serial killer romances are quite dark, and some of them are really great. But
yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you don't want dark. Sometimes you just want something that's going to be entertaining.
For sure, and like you said, it gives you this way to kind of experience some of these other things that normally we stereotypically classify as like evil. Have it be like that. It's really just another thing that people can have.
Yeah, and I suppose I come from a background of like originally, years ago, reading a lot of comic books and things like that, and a lot of your superhero vigilante style comic book storylines. You have to question the way that some of these heroes would actually be classified in reality. Because you then go, this, like if you pull it apart, you go, this is not right.
This isn't normal.
Look, I have a book of Batman. It's this Batman and Psychology sort of book, and it's a really interesting read because it picks apart the character of Bruce Wayne and the idea of Batman from a psychology point of view. And you go, there is something fundamentally
for sure
weird going on with this character.
Yeah.
That this is right, but everyone knows that story, you know that character, and you accept it in media. So yes.
His husband will. His husband loves it. And I think that's interesting too, to take, okay, he's the psychopath and he doesn't want to kill at all. And then you have somebody who has totally normal emotions and is like all on board. Yeah.
And when I was re-listening to Moonstruck last night, I kind of got to the scene where Jericho actually confronts Thomas and says, you do realize that this is not what he wants, and that you have not done right by him in this regard.
Yeah. And we have people who can feel emotions as good. Doesn't mean they can't kill. Yeah. As seen by all of the Jericho boys.
Yeah. And that idea of just because you don't necessarily feel an emotion doesn't mean you can't experience them in a different way and have it just be different. So
all those discussions about it's a good one.
Yeah, and it's a great scene.
I don't remember what book it was in, but one of them kind of talked about here's how I feel about you. Is that love? Like what else is love? And like, I thought that was a really interesting discussion where they were just like, I want to protect you and I care about how you feel. Is that not love?
Yeah. And like this, I mean, the whole way through, there's been the idea of like all of the books have this kind of insta love sort of lean to them, because you have your psychopath character basically going, no, this is my person and I want to protect them. That's my base urge, is I want them to be safe and I want to protect them. I don't necessarily know if that's love, but that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that they're safe. And I mean, Adam, to be fair, Adam kind of grew on me in this book, in Maniac. More than I think in any other book in the series. Because he does come across as the spoiled youngest child.
Yeah, he's for sure the baby of the family. And he acts like he steers into it.
Yeah. And it's just like that's his personality, and that's fine. But I appreciated him more in this book than I think I had in any previous books. Even though I do like him. I'm just like, no, I actually appreciate you more in here.
Yeah. I think it was all just done really well. I'm just excited for more. I'm glad she's doing more. I was really like worried at like as book 6 was coming out, and I was like, I'm not ready to part with this world at all.
No, I just want to keep seeing them, even if it's just little snippets here or there in other series. Just bring it on.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed for Children of the Mulvaneys series.
I know. I want to know about. Oh, actually, no, that's probably a spoiler. The last chapter. Just wanted to.
I forgot about that like little like wrap up chapter at the end.
And I'm like,
here's where everyone is later.
Yeah. I have to say, like, it was hilarious that from the second that they met Lola, that Felix was like, we want to have a kid with you.
That was so funny. And she's like, no. She's like, strange danger.
And even Cricket's like, run away as fast as you can.
That scene was so funny where she was like, they'll try to get your uterus, go away. Run away.
But I also like with that last sort of scene, just seeing the different ways that families can be comprised as well, which you don't often see in a romance book at the moment.
Especially compared to after learning about Thomas's actual family, to then like at the end see their little found family be so wonderful. I thought that was a really smart kind of duality. To learn about his terrible, birth family. Look how sweet the psychopathic family is, though.
The family that will do anything for you, because
literally anything. They have torture devices and everything.
Yeah. Aiden and his torture devices.
Really,
so many torture devices. Yeah. Actually, there weren't any torture devices in this book.
No.
But there were in previous books.
Yeah. They talked about it. But then, they weren't at Aiden's creepy murder cabin. So. That's where
there are a lot of creepy murder cabins in this series.
There are. I'm surprised there aren't just more in the world compared to based off of this book.
Yeah. I think it depends whether they'll feel I don't think they'll feel the same. I think they'll have their own flair to them. And, having read a couple of the other series that Onley James has written, I think there's definitely, like, you still have that found family aspect in all of her series.
There's definitely a feel to her books.
It'll just be different because you'll have different characters.
Yeah. Based off of what she has said about the school one, it sounds like that one is going to lean a little bit more action-esque, and given the cover. But that's a spoiler. Yeah, apparently.
look, it's not Onley James related, but I've been reading a lot of Tal Bauer books this week, his romantic suspense books, and yes to this.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Apparently, yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah, I've been in a romantic suspense mood recently. I've read a couple of Tal Bauer. I've read a bunch of Cole McCade. I've read Onley James. It's like, apparently I need bad guys to lose. That's the vibe for 2023. Bad guys need to lose.
Yep. I agree. And I think I grew up on action adventure sort of stories.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I want the romance, but I also want explosions and car chases and bad guys to lose and all of this. So
yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting for the school one. Is it's going to be a little bit more action movie-esque based off of what she said in her Patreon. So
which will be cool. I think that'll be a nice difference.
Especially if it's going to go on around the same time as the Jericho Boys one. I don't remember. Is she calling it the Jericho Boys or the something Boys? Yeah, I don't remember.
It might be. Yeah.
But I think they're going to go on around the same time. So I think it'll be nice to have one that's more action-esque, just to kind of keep them separate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I like with the school one, I'm curious to see how much Archer and Mac are involved in that.
Yeah.
Everyone was just teasing them about running the school, and they're like, we don't actually run.
There's like
we're supervisors.
Yeah. There is an entire group of people to run it.
Oh man.
So good.
I do love the series so very much.
I do too. And it's one of those series that like you said, grows on you as you read it. Like they're all good, but like I definitely love them more like looking back as I read them more like further in.
Yeah.
Because you just get so attached to them as a family, like as a collective.
Yeah. And I think like once you have like if you go back and reread them, I mean you do this with any reread, but I think there are things you pick up on because of the family aspect of it. Yeah. That you're like, oh, this didn't make like this was good, but it sort of out of context when you read it. She plots it so well, and she plots the trajectory of all of the relationships that you go back and you go, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, and I get it, and that links into this, and this, it's a call out to something that's going to happen later on down the track, and I'm like, this is great.
Especially in Unhinged, because you don't know any of them yet. And so to see how the brothers are acting from Adam's point of view and then knowing where it goes later.
Yeah.
It's really,
and also
I read that one.
Yeah. And also, like we said before, Adam being the baby of the family, he views everything in a completely different way to everyone else in the family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. School.
I'm surprised it's not really a school.
I'm surprised they haven't tried to invade it, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't believe none of the brothers have tried to go to the mythical
Looking
school.
For it.
That seems like something all of them would be interested in.
Yeah.
Especially the twins.
Yes. Oh God. Could you imagine the twins there?
Chaos. Utter chaos.
Oh dear. All right. Anything else we wanted to say about the book?
I don't think so.
I think we've covered all of the main parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was just relieved that it sort of lived up to what you were hoping. And I was trying to sort of minimize my expectations. I'm like, don't build this up too much, because then you're going to get to the end and you're going to go, oh, but I'm like, no, this was not what I was expecting, and it was good.
Yeah. I think, like you said, like if it had been too lighthearted, it wouldn't have hit. She needed that like angst to like really make warrant the 6-book build up to them.
And also, I think humanize Thomas a little bit in the eyes of the other characters.
Yeah. Well, and you've only seen him through the eyes of the sons, who have all like idolized him.
Yeah.
And so this was like the first time that you got to see him be a person.
Yeah. That's nice. I liked it. Alrighty. Should we wrap this up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. And I will probably at some point reread this again.
Yeah.
Depending on how crazy my life gets. Probably in audio, to be honest.
I haven't listened to them on audio. Now I need to listen to them on audio. I guess that's what I'm doing in April.
Yeah. Oh, yay. I'm so glad you're reading it, Heather.
Me too. We can all talk about it.
You can. You can just message us when you read anything, because we won't be worried about spoilers. We just have to try not to spoil you. That is the most important thing. All right. So thank you for joining us. And we will probably be back in the next weekend or so with a journaling live. So Robin and Heather and Bree. So you will see all of our faces again soon. Yes. Oh, yay. I hope you enjoy it. It is good fun. All right. We will see you guys later. Bye.